This is why you can't stop thinking about your ex. And it's not love. You're not crazy. That breakup pain, that urge to check their Instagram, text them, or just hear their voice one more time. It's not weakness. It's your attachment system in crisis. Why breakups feel like withdrawal? Think about it. For millennia, our very survival depended on forming strong bonds. We're wired for connection. Your attachment system isn't some modern dating fad. It's an ancient, deeply ingrained mechanism designed to keep you safe, to ensure you weren't left alone in the wild. And what happens when that system is suddenly, abruptly severed? It goes into crisis mode. Losing someone you're deeply attached to, especially someone you shared intimacy and future plans with, activates some of the same neural circuits in your brain as physical pain. Yes, you heard that right, actual physical pain. And it's not just pain. It's eerily similar to drug withdrawal. Your brain, accustomed to the dopamine hits of their presence, their affection, their validation, suddenly goes without. No wonder you feel like you're craving them, like you need just one more fix. This is why we see those classic post-breakup behaviors. If you lean towards an anxious attachment style, you might find yourself spiraling, texting them when you know you shouldn't, begging, relentlessly checking their social media, scrutinizing every photo, every new follow. It's your system screaming, reestablish connection, reestablish safety. On the flip side, if you're more avoidant, you might respond by disconnecting entirely, blocking their number, throwing yourself into work, perhaps even telling yourself you're fine and pushing all those uncomfortable feelings down. But here's the secret. Avoidants still feel it. That pain doesn't just disappear. It gets buried, often resurfacing privately, sometimes much later, in unexpected ways. Visual. Display a simple infographic showing brain areas lighting up for both physical pain and emotional pain. Solution. The first, and perhaps most crucial, step is simply to understand it's biological. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not crazy for feeling this way. You are a human being with a highly evolved attachment system doing exactly what it was designed to do, try to restore connection. But here's the good news. Just because it's biological doesn't mean you're a slave to it. You can learn ways to self-regulate instead of self-sabotage. The four attachment styles and how they handle breakups. Now that we understand the core mechanics, let's dive into how your specific attachment style might be influencing your breakup experience. Understanding this is like getting a roadmap to your own emotional landscape. First, we have secure attachment. If you're predominantly secure, you still feel the pain of a breakup. Of course you do. But you don't catastrophize it. You accept that pain as a natural part of loss. You understand that your worth isn't tied to someone else's presence. You're able to lean on your support system, set healthy boundaries, and allow yourself to heal without getting stuck in obsessive loops. You might grieve deeply, but you also trust in your ability to recover and find happiness again. Next, the anxious attachment style. This is where things can get really intense post-breakup. If you're anxious, you likely feel profoundly abandoned. Your core fear is often rejection and abandonment, and a breakup confirms those deepest fears. You crave reconnection at almost any cost, believing that only their return can alleviate the unbearable pain. This is why you might find yourself stalking their social media, sending desperate texts, begging, pleading, or obsessively reliving every memory, trying to find a way back to what was. Then there's avoidant attachment. For avoidance, the response to a breakup is often to shut down completely. This can manifest as blocking your ex, distracting yourself with work or new hobbies, or simply detaching emotionally. You might even pride yourself on how quickly you've moved on. The pain is definitely there, but it's buried deep. It's easier to intellectualize the loss or simply deny its impact than to feel the vulnerability of grief. This buried pain often resurfaces in future relationships, creating a cycle of emotional distance. Finally, the fearful-avoidant or disorganized attachment style. This is perhaps the most complex post-breakup experience. You're torn between craving intimacy and deeply fearing it. You might push your ex away one moment, then desperately pull them back the next. This creates a chaotic, push-pull behavior that can be incredibly confusing and distressing for everyone involved. You desperately want connection, but your past experiences make you believe it will inevitably lead to pain or betrayal. The powerful solution here is simply to identify your pattern. Which one resonated most with you? Awareness is always step one. You absolutely cannot change what you're not conscious of. Once you know your default setting, you can start to understand why you react the way you do. And that understanding is the first key to unlocking real change. How your attachment style was formed. You might be wondering, why am I this way? Why do I respond to breakups like this? The answer largely lies in your past. Your attachment style wasn't born out of thin air. It was meticulously, unconsciously shaped by your early experiences with your primary caregivers. If your caregivers were inconsistent, sometimes there, sometimes not, sometimes warm, sometimes distant, you likely developed an anxious attachment. Your system learned that to get love and attention, you had to constantly pursue it, to escalate your needs, because you couldn't rely on consistent presence. If you experience rejection, emotional neglect, or were consistently pushed away when you sought comfort, you probably developed an avoidant attachment. Your system learned that your needs were a burden, and that true safety lay in self-reliance and emotional distance. And for those with a disorganized or fearful avoidance style, this often stems from a more chaotic or even traumatic early environment. If the source of comfort was also sometimes the source of fear or unpredictability, your system got mixed messages, leading to that push-pull internal conflict. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to heal. This is such an important distinction. You didn't choose your childhood experiences. You didn't choose how your attachment system formed. That's not your fault. But as an adult, you now have the power, the agency, and yes, the responsibility to understand these patterns and actively work towards healing them. This isn't about blaming your parents. It's about empowering yourself to create a different future. Post-breakup triggers and how to survive them. So, you've broken up. You're trying to heal. But then, out of nowhere, you get hit. Trigger. It could be anything. Nights, when the house is quiet and your thoughts get loud. Holidays, reminders of past celebrations. Song on the radio. Familiar street. And of course, the big one, social media stalking. You see a picture of them, maybe with someone new, or just looking happy, and bam, that familiar ache hits. Why does it feel so intense? Because your brain is still wired for that dopamine hit. Just like an addict, a glimpse of them can cause a massive dopamine spike, followed by an even bigger crash, making you crave them again. It's a vicious cycle. Solution: you need a distress tolerance plan. This isn't about ignoring your feelings. It's about managing them in the moment so you don't fall back into old, self-sabotaging patterns. Here are some immediate actions you can take. Delete or mute. Delete their number, mute them on social media, or even temporarily block them if you need to. It's not vindictive. It's self-preservation. Out of sight, out of mind isn't perfect, but it dramatically reduces triggers. Journal instead of texting. When that urge to text them hits, grab a journal instead. Write down every single thought, every feeling, every desperate plea. Get it out of your system, but don't send it to them. This honors your feelings without sabotaging your healing. Grounding techniques. When you feel that intense anxiety or craving, use grounding techniques. The 5-4-3-2-1 method: name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste brings you back to the present. Deep breathing exercises are also incredibly powerful. Speak to your inner child, not your ex. When you feel that intense neediness, recognize it's often your inner child crying out for comfort and reassurance. Instead of seeking that from an ex who can't give it to you, turn inward. It's okay, little one. I'm here. We're safe. We'll get through this. This is powerful reparenting in action. How to earn a secure attachment. Now for the truly empowering part. You might have been raised with an insecure attachment style, but you are not doomed to stay there. You absolutely can become securely attached. This isn't just wishful thinking. It's backed by decades of psychological research. Secure attachment is earned. How do you earn it? Through consistent self-awareness, through dedicated emotional regulation, and by making conscious choices about the partners and relationships you invite into your life. It's about becoming the secure, consistent caregiver for yourself that you might not have had as a child. This involves actively reparenting yourself. When you feel anxious, instead of pursuing, you soothe yourself. When you feel avoidant, instead of shutting down, you lean into discomfort and process your emotions. Start tracking your triggers. What situations, what thoughts, what feelings send you spiraling into old patterns? Once you know them, you can develop proactive strategies to respond differently. Crucially, surround yourself with secure people. This doesn't mean just dating secure people eventually, but also having secure friends, family members, mentors, and yes, even content creators who model healthy emotional regulation. Their calm, consistent presence can actually help rewire your system over time. It wasn't love if it cost you your self-worth. Love expands you. It doesn't erase you. Read that again. Internalize it. This is your new mantra. If a relationship consistently diminished who you are, if it made you feel less than, if you lost pieces of yourself trying to hold on to it, then it wasn't true love. True, healthy love, built on secure attachment, makes you feel bigger, more vibrant, more you. It doesn't erase you. If you still miss them, sense of gentle closure. Even after all this work, even after understanding your attachment style and building your toolkit, there will be moments. Moments when you still miss them. And that's okay. It's normal. Missing them doesn't mean you should go back. Missing them doesn't mean the relationship was perfect or that it was the one. What missing them often means is that you had hope. You invested hope. You invested future dreams. You invested a version of yourself into that person and that relationship. So, when you miss them, try to shift your perspective. Don't mourn the person. Instead, mourn the version of you who didn't know better. Mourn the hopes and dreams that are now shifting. And then, crucially, celebrate the version of you learning now. Celebrate the person who is actively choosing to heal, to grow, to break cycles. That's a powerful, incredible journey. If this conversation hit home for you, if you felt a deep resonance with anything we discussed today, it means one powerful thing: you are ready. You are ready to heal at the root. You're not here to repeat the same painful cycles over and over. You're here to break them. You're here to transform your relationship with yourself, and by extension, your relationships with others. This is your era of emotional freedom. If you're ready to dive deeper into relationship psychology, to decode the patterns, and to truly thrive after heartbreak, then I invite you to follow Adult Speaks. Subscribe for weekly psychology-backed relationship truths. We're here to decode relationship psychology so you can stop hurting and start growing. You've survived a breakup. Now, let's thrive after it.